Hello my wonderful people, thank you for tuning in again. If it is your first time of coming across this platform and you like what I do in this platform, please after watching subscribe, put on your notification bell. In that way you'll be able to know when I upload a video. I upload videos on daily basis depending on what is happening. And my old subscribers, I appreciate you all. Igbo ndị ọma na-ege ntị, ụmụnne m ekene m unu na sanachi una bonachi. So I'm not going to talk too much in this video because I have a very good and interesting video for you to listen to. And the video is all about, before I play it, let me introduce it a bit, that Nnamdi Kanu have sued Nigerian government for 5 billion for violation of his law, and reviews how he was tortured, beaten, and fainted severally before they revive him back with water. This is to show you what Nnamdi have gone through for the sake of you and I. And this is why we should stand by his side. We should support him. We should work hard that he comes out, because he have sacrificed a lot. According to one video I listened to, they did all sort of things to him. For him to sell Biafra, for him to sell Biafra agitation, he said no until they remove the marks that they use in covering his face to know who this man is that refuses such amount of money. When they remove it, they behold, they now found out that this man is a freedom fighter. So I'm going to be playing videos of lawyers who analyzes all these things. That's you. He said that Nigerian government should or will apologize to him publicly. So my dear wonderful people, let us watch the video, and after watching, you are free to drop your opinion in the comment section. Like I said before, if it is your first time, please subscribe and put on the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a new video.
In his ordeal with the federal government, the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, is demanding an apology and 5 billion naira damages for violation of his fundamental human rights. Kanu, through his counsel, Aloy Ejimofo, also demands to be returned to Kenya, where he was arrested and beaten, his country of abode, before the federal government would apply for his repatriation. Julie, this is okay. They asking for damages, 5 billion naira in damages for violation of his fundamental human rights.
Yes, it's his right to make that demand, and it's not really about what just happened. It's about the invasion of his home in 2017. So he's saying that his rights were infringed on the day, and that the court should now grant an order that the Nigerian government should apologize to him for the way he was treated, and that the way he also talked about the way he was brought to Nigeria from Kenya, though the Nigerian government has not told anyone where he was arrested. They are saying that he wants to be sent back ultimately to Great Britain, where he had been staying before he came to Kenya and got arrested. So, and he also wants the case against him discontinued. So he's trying to use this new case to discontinue the current one, you know, hinging everything on what happened back then, the infringement of his rights. I don't know what the lawyer or the strategy of the lawyer, but it's within his right to go to court and ask for the Nigerian government to apologize to him, or the Nigerian government to pay him billions for the violation of his rights. It's up to the courts to determine whether that kind of case has merit or not.
He was granted bail in Nigeria, and somebody stood as surety to him and everything, and in between he disappeared, and he was saying that they came to invade his house and they almost killed him, that he had to run for safety. So bringing him back now, the propriety of how he got to Nigeria is another thing. So what he's asking for now is another thing, to be returned to Britain. And if he's returned to Britain as a citizen, we have his full rights and everything. So there can be a process of to expedite him.
Let me tell you, what is happening now is connected to what happened in 2017. If you follow the cases, it was then that the government proscribed IPOB and labeled them terrorist organization, and this thing was gazetted, if you remember at that time. Then the military operation in that part of the country, so he said, and it was clear that at that time that his life was in danger, and he fled for his life. And if you follow the last court appearance, that the first court appearance that he had when he was brought back, you know, from wherever the federal government got him, we don't know yet. So he cited that he ran for his life, that he would have been killed if he had not, you know, voted with his feet. Now, with what he's saying now, he's saying he suffered mental, psychological, emotional, and other, you know, things through the arrest, through the incarceration, and all that. You know, lawyers always have their strategies, and this one may be a good one, it may not, but the beauty of it is that it's good that he's coming up with it, and it is true that the presidency will not decide this one. He himself, the lawyer, will not decide it. It is the courts, the judiciary, that has the final say on this. It's part of the beauty of democracy, believe me.
Okay, to give us a clearer view, let's take you to a Lagos-based human rights lawyer, Nnamdi Kanu. Kanu has raised a lot of puzzles here, and is making 5 billion naira demand, and is also demanding to be taken back to Kenya, where he was arrested, and taken to Britain again, where he's based. He's a dual citizen. Nnamdi, can you shed light into what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is asking for?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. The interesting part about this case is that it will offer the federal government an opportunity to come out clean on certain matters relating to Nnamdi Kanu that have been lingering since 2017. You know, as you have rightly said, there is a subsisting charge against him pending at the Federal High Court. And while that case was pending, you are also aware that there was documented evidence that some form of military activity took place at his residence, where it was even reported that some of his supporters and followers were killed in the process. And he fled the country supposedly to ensure that he was not murdered or he was not killed for his own safety, as he has claimed. Now, when the matter came before Justice Nyako of the Federal High Court, that is a criminal matter, the terrorism charges or the treasonable felony charges, the issue of his absence from trial was raised. And that was why the court at that time had to determine whether certain sanctions should be imposed on his shorty. At that time, his shorty had made the point that the person is too shorty for left the country involuntarily, having been forced by the military following the invasion of his home. There was never an opportunity or a clear opportunity, or I would say, Justice Nyako, the trial court, the trial judge, appears, to have been a bit hesitant to go into the merit of that matter. So for me, this is a good opportunity for Nigerians to know why that action had to take place in his residence even after he had been tried. If it related to the terms of his bail, if the excuse or the defense of the federal government is going to be that he had breached the terms of his bail, then the question will be between the prosecutor, the federal government of Nigeria, and the court, who is in a position to determine whether the terms of bail was breached by Nnamdi Kanu in 2017 or not. The other aspect of this is the manner in which he was brought back into the country. From all that we know, subject to the findings of the court, it does appear that he was brought back to the country against his will. In other words, there has been a chain of activities from 2017 to date. Now, ordinarily, once somebody is standing trial and the person fails to appear for his trial, the court has the power to revoke his bail, which was what happened in this case. And that person is liable to be arrested. We will not be having this debate, this argument, if Nnamdi Kanu was arrested within the territory of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But having left Nigeria, whether rightly or wrongly, whether through proper immigration process or not, within the context and the purview of international law, the Nigerian government does not have the power or the authority in law to bring him to the country for him to continue to face his trial without complying with certain prerequisites. Principal among these being the extradition process. There is no evidence on record that Nnamdi Kanu was ever subjected to that process in Kenya. What they did is what is known as international law.
Can you take us through this process? Because I was told from my findings the process of extradition is somehow long and cumbersome, and we don't have any, as you said, we don't have any evidence that Nnamdi Kanu was taken through this process. So his lawyers are claiming that he was abducted, that he was kidnapped to be brought to Nigeria for trial.
I do agree with his lawyers, because as that now, extradition is not something that is done in secret. It is a judicial proceeding. It's not something that is done behind the party that is the subject of extradition. If I am to be extradited to the US, look at the case of Abayari, for example, and that will take me to explanation of the process. Within Nigeria, if this were to happen in Nigeria, like the case of Abayari, we have the Extradition Act. And of course, there is also extradition treaties between Nigeria and other countries in the world. Normally, when somebody is a subject of criminal investigation or is wanted by a foreign country for purpose of prosecution on account of infraction, the government where the subject is residing has to go before the court in that country and file an application seeking consent of the court for that person to be forcefully taken out of that country into the country that is being sought. That is what extradition essentially means. Even when that process has been determined by that court, that person has the right of appeal. And I will refer you to the case of Obanikoro, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, Senator Obanikoro, who was wanted by the US government. And even after a federal high court had given a decision, the matter went further to the Court of Appeal. You can also cite the case of Julian Azanga, right, who is being wanted in part by the United States government. You see the process that he has to go through, where the process has been ongoing. So the fact that it takes time is not a justification for the government of Nigeria to resort to this brazen, this arbitrary action. If Nigeria is a civilized country, if Nigeria is a member of the international community, look at what is happening in the case of Sunday Igboho. It is exactly the same thing. Benin Republic is now teaching Nigeria rule of law, and for me that is an embarrassment to what is supposed to be the president of Africa. Because the government of Nigeria is looking for Sunday Igboho, but the government of Benin Republic said no, we cannot just allow you take him without going through the process of extradition through our judiciary. That is the right that Nnamdi Kanu was entitled to under the law. But whether this high court in Oka can give an order for Nnamdi Kanu to be returned to Kenya as his lawyer has prayed for, or to the UK is a very tall order. I'm not going to determine that, but I think they have a lot of argument to make to succeed on that point. But I do agree that if the court finds that indeed the process by which his home was invaded, the manner in which the military went to his house was wrong, then he is entitled to damages, is entitled to public apology. If the court also finds that the manner in which he was even brought to the country was wrong, that is also a violation of his right. But whether that is sufficient, whether that will be a legal basis for him to be taken back to the Kenya or to UK is a different thing. Why am I saying so?
Why do you think the federal government...
You have a pending charge.
Why do you think the federal government...
The Federal High Court.
What do you think the federal government, what do you think they're quiet on how he was brought in and where he was brought from? Is it the way, the manner in which he was brought in? That's why it's like a top state secret. Nobody's talking about it.
They will now be forced. That is why I started by saying that the good thing, or one good thing about this case, is that Nnamdi Kanu, through his lawyers, will now force the hand of the federal government, because they have to file a counter-affidavit to the suit, and they must disclose the circumstances under which he was brought back to the country. They don't have a choice at this point. They have to disclose how they brought him back to the country. They have to also disclose what led to the invasion of his home. At this point, they do not have a choice, because if the suit is not contested, the natural thing is for the
court to grant the involved. They are denying already.
No, they can deny it to Nigerians, but they cannot deny it before the court, because if they are saying that they went through due process, they have to exhibit evidence of that due process. They have to demonstrate that there was an extradition process, which never took place. This couldn't have been done the way, we know extradition process to work. But don't forget, I have told you that the Federal High Court, presided by Justice Nyanko in Abuja, is also seized of the charge against him. And that court is a court of concurrent jurisdiction with the High Court of Anambra State. In other words, the High Court of Anambra State will not necessarily determine the incidence of the pending charge before the Federal High Court. That is why I'm saying that whether Nnamdi Kanu will succeed in that aspect of his claim, I cannot really say. That is a tall order for them. But it is good that this case has been brought. It is an opportunity for, I hope that the High Court will be courageous, because this is one case that requires a lot of courage for the courts to look at the matter dispassionately. And if the federal government is found to have violated due process, to have violated his right to life by attempting to kill him, if that is actually shown and established and proved, or that his right to dignity of the human person was violated, that he was tortured, he has alleged that his right to freedom of movement was infringed upon, Nnamdi Kanu is entitled to compensation and public apology. And the fact that IPOB was prescribed does not have any consequence on what I am saying, because even the issue of prescription is still being litigated by the court in Nigeria. And let me make this point. Why is it that the federal government only made recourse to the court when it favored them? When they needed IPOB to be crushed so brutally, the government went and got an ex parte order to prescribe IPOB. But when they needed to bring back the leader of IPOB to face trial, the government treated with disdain that same due process. So we cannot have selective adherence to the rule of law. If you are saying that Nnamdi Kanu has committed offense against Nigeria,
yes,
you must subject him to the due process of law.
Thank you for that insight. It's gentlemen, it's really fun, because this case, at the end of the day, the dimension you don't even expect is going to take the dimension. Because I've never really asked myself that, you can't perpetrate illegality to say you want, because he's attending the trial, you want to try him. The way and manner in which you used to bring him back to the country will be talked about at a point in time.
Yes, because his lawyer would definitely ask some pertinent questions. That is the thing. But in our job, what we do best is to simply wait for the judicial process to run its course, and then we are reporters. We are not judicial officers.
We'll be here to talk about it.
Yes, whatever happens.
And don't forget that it's not only individuals that can be lawless or can commit crime. Even the state can be lawless. You get my point?
It's very
funny. The state can be a rogue. The state can be anything. If you don't follow the laws, then the state remember the 1984 Umaru Diko saga. You get me? Even though we were under military rule, this one we didn't say it's the same thing, but whatever is the case, remember the case of Igboho.
And don't forget that we are
remember the case of Igboho. Remember the case of Igboho. The state invaded his home around, you know,
the DSS.
The DSS, where is the state? So, and you saw what happened, and for hours nobody uttered a word until the media started, you know, insinuating.
The video is everywhere.
Then it was almost after almost 24 hours before they started coming out with something.
No, I was even thinking that that what we will hear was that unknown gunmen carried out.
That's the information now. Any crime.
Yes.
The first one on Igbo's home was attributed to unknown gunmen.
Yes.
So we thought another one would be unknown gunmen, but maybe because of tragedy.
No, because there was a need to arrest.
And
My wonderful people, thank you so much for watching this video together with me. I appreciate your massive support in this channel. Before, if it is your first time of stopping by or coming across my YouTube channel, you are welcome. Now that we have finished watching this video together, you saw me sitting there watching it together with you. I appreciate you. Let's go to the comment section to talk about it. If it is your first time, subscribe, put on your notification bell. That notification bell is very, very important because